As I approach my 70th year, I find myself in a place I never quite expected, actively avoiding people and social situations. This wasn't something that happened suddenly or without reason, but rather a gradual shift that I've come to understand as time has passed. I think many of you who have reached this stage of life might relate to what I'm going through. In this video, I'd like to share some of the insights I've gained along the way. Reaching this age brings with it a deep sense of awareness, especially when it comes to time. At 70, time has become a precious commodity, one that demands more careful consideration. It's no longer something I take for granted. In my younger years, time seemed endless. I thought there would always be more of it, and so I spent it freely. I gave my energy to people and obligations that drained me, without fully considering whether they added real value to my life. But now, with decades behind me, I view time as something to be cherished, and it's clear to me that I must be more selective about how I spend it. As you get older, your priorities start to change. There's no longer the same desire to please everyone or maintain relationships out of obligation. At this stage, I ask myself questions like, does this person bring me joy? Does this activity contribute to my well-being? If the answer is no, I've learned to let go. And though it's not always easy, it's become a necessary part of my life. I don't look back on the years I've lived with regret, but rather with a sense of peace and understanding. I realize now that some friendships aren't meant to last forever, and it's okay to outgrow certain people or situations. It's not about holding grudges or harboring resentment. It's about respecting who I am today and the journey that has led me here. This shift in my thinking has made it easier to focus on what truly matters. The small conflicts and dramas that once seemed so important now feel insignificant. I simply don't have the energy to engage in situations that disturb my peace. Instead, I focus on things that bring me contentment, quiet moments, meaningful connections, and the joy of spending time alone. I've learned that quality is far more valuable than quantity, whether it's in friendships or the way I spend my time. This shift is not about becoming cynical or isolated. It's a form of wisdom. It's about recognizing that life is too short to waste on things that don't nourish the soul. And as I've gotten older, I've embraced the freedom that comes with age, the freedom to say no, to choose peace over obligation, and to live each day in alignment with what is truly important to me. Letting go of what no longer serves me has created space for things that bring me joy, whether it's the laughter of my grandchildren, a quiet morning with a cup of tea, or the simple satisfaction of tending to my garden. Time, though sometimes heavy, has been a gift. It has taught me to live with intention and to appreciate what I have. But life, of course, has its way of teaching us lessons, often through the most difficult experiences. At 70, I find myself reflecting on the things I wish I had understood earlier in life. Things that could have saved me from heartache, from wasted time, and unnecessary struggles. It was through those very struggles, however, that I gained the wisdom I carry with me today. When I was younger, I believed in the inherent goodness of people. I thought kindness was always reciprocated, that loyalty was guaranteed, and that good intentions were enough to build lasting relationships. But over the years, I learned that not everyone shares those values. I encountered individuals who took advantage of my generosity, who put their own interests ahead of others, and who caused hurt in ways I hadn't expected. From these experiences, I learned that trust must be earned, not freely given. I also discovered that some relationships are temporary, meant to teach us something before we move on. This realization was difficult, but ultimately freeing. It's never easy to admit that a relationship wasn't what you thought it was, but I've learned that holding on out of nostalgia or obligation only weighs us down. Letting go, though painful at times, opens up space for better things. These lessons have also led to a great deal of self-reflection. I've had to acknowledge my own mistakes, the times I gave too much of myself, ignored warning signs, or allowed others to dictate my worth. It's humbling to recognize where I've faltered, but it's also empowering. These hard-earned lessons have shaped me into someone who values boundaries, self-respect, and the strength to walk away when something no longer serves me. It wasn't always an easy journey, but it was a necessary one. Now, when I look back, I no longer see regret, but growth. Every disappointment, betrayal, and mistake taught me how to protect my heart, prioritize my peace, and live in alignment with my values. At 70, I carry these lessons as tools to navigate this stage of life with clarity and grace. There was a time when I couldn't bear being alone. I filled the silence with noise and activity, seeking the company of others to avoid facing solitude. But as I've gotten older, I've learned to see solitude not as loneliness, but as a sanctuary. A space where I can truly be myself, free from external pressures and expectations. Solitude has become a gift I never knew I needed. It's in these quiet moments that I find peace and clarity. Whether I'm walking in the early morning light or sitting in my garden, watching the breeze rustle the leaves. These moments aren't pauses in life, they are life itself. The pandemic, despite its challenges, was a turning point for me. It stripped away distractions and forced me to spend more time with myself. In doing so, I discovered that I didn't need constant activity or validation from others to feel fulfilled. What I needed was to reconnect with myself, to listen to my thoughts and feelings. This newfound appreciation for solitude has transformed how I view relationships. I no longer feel the pressure to maintain connections that don't bring me joy. I've learned it's okay to choose quiet evenings over social events and to protect my energy from negativity. Solitude has also deepened my gratitude for life. In these quiet moments, I reflect on the people who have touched my heart and the lessons I've learned along the way. I've come to cherish my own company, knowing that the relationship I have with myself is the foundation for everything else in life. As I enter this phase, I find myself drawn more to solitude than the hustle and bustle of social gatherings. It's in solitude that I feel most connected to what truly matters, and most at peace with who I am. At 70, I've come to embrace the richness of life with open arms. In the stillness of quiet moments, I discover more of my true self, gaining a deeper understanding of the world and the passage of time. This awareness has brought clarity about the ever-evolving nature of friendships. Relationships, like the tides, come and go. As I reflect on the people who have crossed my path, I see how some friendships have withstood the test of time, while others have slowly faded away. These reflections are not always easy, as they often stir a mix of emotions. Gratitude for the bonds that once were, sorrow for those lost, and a sense of bittersweet acceptance that comes with growing older. When we're younger, friendships often form due to circumstances. We meet people in school, at work, or within our neighborhoods, and the bonds we create in those moments seem effortless. These early friendships are often abundant, driven by shared experiences and the energy of youth. But as time passes, life naturally begins to prune these connections. Career changes, relocations, and shifting priorities change the dynamics, and those once indispensable friends may begin to drift away. At 70, I've learned that this shift is not a failure. It is simply the nature of life. Not every friendship is destined to last forever. Some are meant to serve a particular purpose or to accompany us through specific stages of life. These relationships teach us lessons, offer companionship, and then fade as we evolve in different directions. While this realization can be painful, it brings a sense of peace. Letting go of relationships that no longer align with who I am today doesn't diminish their importance. Instead, it honors the role they played in shaping my journey. Then there are the friendships that endure, true treasures. These are the rare gems who stick by you through thick and thin. They have seen you at your best and worst, and yet they continue to love and support you just as you are. These friendships don't require constant attention to remain strong. The bond is timeless, built on mutual respect, trust, and a shared history. Over the years, I've become more discerning about which friendships to nurture. My time and energy have become more precious, and I've learned to reserve them for relationships that bring joy and enrichment to my life. Gone are the days of maintaining connections out of guilt or obligation. Now I focus on relationships that are reciprocal, uplifting, and based on genuine care. I've realized that it's okay to prioritize my peace and well-being without feeling guilty. Another shift I've noticed is my growing appreciation for the simplicity of friendships. The days of grand gestures or frequent meetups are behind me. I've come to understand that the true essence of friendship doesn't lie in how often we see each other or how elaborate our gestures are. A simple phone call, a shared laugh, or even a quiet moment of understanding can mean more than years of shallow interactions. It's the quality of the connection, not the quantity, that matters. As I approach my 70s, I've learned to embrace the changing nature of friendships as part of the journey. Each relationship, whether fleeting or lasting, has contributed to the person I am today. While some have faded, the love and lessons they brought remain a part of me. In the end, I find comfort in knowing that true friendship is not about permanence. It's about presence, being there for each other when it truly matters. Trust has always been the cornerstone of meaningful relationships, but over the years, I've come to realize how fragile it is. Trust must be earned, not given freely, and as I've gotten older, I've become more cautious about who I let into my inner circle. This shift isn't rooted in cynicism or bitterness, but in the wisdom that comes with experience. I've had my share of disappointments, times when I trusted the wrong people and was left feeling betrayed. These experiences, while painful, have taught me to protect my vulnerability as a precious gift, not to be shared lightly. Not everyone deserves access to my heart, and I've learned to recognize the red flags of those who may seek to take advantage of my kindness. It's not about being judgmental, it's about protecting my peace. However, I've also learned the importance of keeping the door to trust slightly ajar. While caution is important, it's equally essential not to let the fear of being hurt prevent us from forming meaningful connections. Building trust takes time, but when it's grounded in mutual respect and understanding, it can be one of life's greatest rewards. Vulnerability, too, requires courage. It means showing up as your true self, even when you're unsure of how others will respond. At this stage of life, I've learned to embrace vulnerability, but with intention. It's about knowing when to share and with whom, and finding the right balance between trust and vulnerability. Self-care has also taken on a new meaning as I've aged. At 70, it's no longer about luxury or pampering. It's about survival, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Self-care has become an act of honoring my own worth. For years, I neglected myself in favor of fulfilling obligations or caring for others. But now I understand that self-care isn't selfish, it's essential. It's about protecting my emotional energy, saying no to commitments that drain me, and being mindful of the internal pressure to constantly be productive. Rest has become a form of resistance against a world that often glorifies busyness over balance. In addition to physical well-being, self-care is deeply personal. It's in the small rituals that make up my day, a quiet cup of tea, tending to my garden, or immersing myself in a good book. These simple acts remind me that life's beauty often lies in its simplicity. Self-compassion has also become a cornerstone of my self-care. It's about forgiving myself for past mistakes, accepting the limitations of my aging body, and recognizing that I've done my best with the resources I had at the time. This inner kindness has been transformative, allowing me to approach each day with gratitude instead of regret. As I navigate my 70s, I've also encountered a complex mix of emotions. There's joy and grief, contentment and longing, gratitude and regret, all interwoven into the fabric of life. Guilt, in particular, has been a challenging emotion to process. It's a unique kind of guilt that arises when I pull away from relationships or commitments, even when I know it's the right choice for my well-being. Over time, I've learned to reframe this guilt, recognizing it as a sign that I'm prioritizing my needs, a practice that took years to master. Similarly, while I value solitude, I've sometimes felt the weight of loneliness. Yet, I've come to understand that loneliness isn't always a negative feeling. It's part of the complex emotional landscape of life, and I've learned to sit with it rather than resist it. Through all these changes and challenges, I've come to understand that life is richer for its complexities, and each emotion, whether joyful or painful, adds to the depth of my experience. At this stage in life, I've learned that feelings of doubt, confusion, or frustration are not signs of having made the wrong choices. They're simply part of the ebb and flow that everyone experiences. They're emotions that, like clouds, pass if we allow them to. In moments like these, I find myself turning to things that bring comfort, whether it's recalling a treasured memory, listening to a favorite song, or simply sitting quietly in nature. Gratitude has been my anchor through it all. On the most difficult days, I remind myself of the many blessings in my life, the love I've given and received, the lessons I've learned, and the resilience I've developed. Gratitude doesn't erase the challenges we face, but it offers a shift in perspective. It helps us see beauty, even in struggle. Every emotion, whether joyful or painful, has something to teach us. Together, they form a tapestry that represents the fullness of our lives. At 70, I've come to understand that life's complexities are not problems to be solved, but aspects to embrace. The mix of emotions I've experienced is a testament to a life well lived, a journey filled with love, loss, growth, and challenges. And it's this complexity that makes life so human and meaningful, something I wouldn't change for the world. If you're in a place where people feel like a drain rather than a source of joy, know that you're not alone. I've learned, especially in later years, that stepping away from relationships that leave me feeling exhausted is not a failure. It's a sign of growth and wisdom. The years have taught me the importance of protecting my energy, of choosing peace, and of prioritizing what truly matters. I've also learned to trust my instincts. If a relationship feels one-sided or filled with unnecessary drama, it's okay to let go. In younger years, we often stayed in relationships out of obligation or fear of hurting others, but now, my well-being comes first. Walking away doesn't mean I don't care. It means I care enough about myself to set healthy boundaries. There's also power in embracing solitude, free from guilt. Society often tells us that a rich life is filled with constant social interaction, but that isn't true for everyone. For many of us, the greatest joy comes in moments of quiet, a peaceful walk, the turning of a page in a good book, or simply being present during a serene sunrise. Solitude can be a time to reconnect with ourselves and to reflect on what we've created and experienced in life. I encourage you to invest in relationships that uplift you and leave behind those that drain your energy. In this stage of life, the quantity of connections doesn't matter as much as the quality. A meaningful conversation with someone who truly understands you can be more fulfilling than being surrounded by many superficial acquaintances. You've earned the right to surround yourself with people who add joy to your life, not obligations. This is your time to honor yourself and make choices that reflect your values and happiness. And while this chapter might seem like an ending, it's really just another continuation, a chance to live with greater purpose and gratitude. Life's beauty doesn't fade with age. It transforms. At 70, I've found a deep peace in this transformation, and I look forward to filling the pages ahead with moments that truly matter. Life at 70 feels both simpler and more profound. The noise of younger years, the constant striving, the need for social approval, the fear of missing out, has quieted, leaving behind a clarity that can only come with age. I now see that life isn't measured by how many people we know or by our accomplishments, but by the depth of our moments, the quality of our relationships, and the peace we find within. This stage is about embracing what remains after time has stripped away the superficial. It's about cherishing the relationships that truly matter, and letting go of those that no longer align with who we are. As we grow older, we learn that aging isn't a loss. It's a gift. It's a time to live more authentically, to strip away pretense, and to focus on what truly matters. We can look back at the journey we've traveled, forgive ourselves for missteps, and take pride in the resilience that has carried us this far. Life at 70 is rich with meaning. If we allow ourselves to see it, this stage is not a time to look back with regret, but to celebrate who we've become and what we've learned. It's a reminder that, no matter how many years pass, there's always room for new joys, new connections, and new beginnings. So, as you move through life, I encourage you to reflect on the lessons you've learned. Embrace this stage with grace, wisdom, and quiet confidence. And remember, the journey is far from over. Your best moments are still ahead. Keep moving forward and continue embracing the beauty in each day. I hope you'll stick around for more reflections like this. Thank you for watching, and may you continue living life on your own terms.